Hey folks, how's it going today? I've got some awesome news. Last week during the Game Awards, Supergiant Games announced that there's going to be a sequel to Hades. So I want to break down the trailer from that and talk about the characters, the gameplay, the gods that are going to be introduced. But let's just jump on in and do it. All right, so we start off, we got a fight going on here. All right, boom. And here we have our first two characters to take a look at. So on the left, we've got Melinoë, and on the right, we have Hecate. And we'll talk about them separately, but let's start with Melinoë. So from a backstory perspective, there's not a lot known about her in Greek mythology. The only reference to her is in a single poem in the Orphic Hymns, and I'll put that up on screen for you to take a look at as I'm talking through this. But it makes it a perfect character for Supergiant Games to play with, because there's not a lot of, canon or history for them to mess up or totally, tear apart. So first off, she's the child of Persephone and Zeus, but not through normal means. Of course, Zeus is a freaky dude and he likes to dress up and fool people and then have kids with them because that's what he does. So he met Persephone and said, yeah, I'd like some of that. And so he put on his best Hades cosplay. They hit it off. And then we've got Melinoë. So that's kind of where she came from. But otherwise, little is known about her. She's a chthonic figure, meaning she's of the underworld. She sometimes has the term nymph attached to her. And a lot of the aspects of the moon are typically linked to her as well. All right, next, let's talk about Hecate. So she is one of the children of the Titans. She's typically associated with the crossroads, dark magic, witchcraft, and the moon. She's typically depicted in one of two fashions. She's either bearing two torches, long, slender robes. Otherwise, she's viewed as a triple goddess, typically facing three different directions and placed at crossroads, meaning she can see in every direction. So that's Hecate, and she seems to be the mentor of Melinoë in this. All right, we're going to pause here for a second because this is the first close-up that we can see at the weapons that Melinoë is using. In her left hand, she's got a dagger. In the right, it looks like she's got a sickle, which is interesting as we find out more about the bad guy of this. I wonder if that is either a reference to the moon or if it's a reference to the sickle that Cronus used to castrate his father. We may never know, but let's let it keep rolling. This fight is freaking awesome. And there's the two torches we just mentioned. All right, I got to talk about two things. First, the animation of this is absolutely freaking stunning. Two, I love the footwork there that Hecate does, where she pivots her foot back and then spins to create the casting circle here. And if you look on the ground here, that sigil slash symbol on the ground, that is called Hecate's wheel, which is yet another symbol making sure that we know clearly that this is Hecate. And again, you've got the triangle there representing the triple aspects of her. So very cool. I also think this is going to tie into some of the game mechanics that we're going to see later on. Just kidding.
Good.
All right, let's pause here and take a moment to call out several things. The first thing of note that I could have called out earlier is that the moon is above. We are outside, so we are not in the underworld currently. Additionally, you can see Hecate's wheel in the background again, and then there's 6 sigils or runes around it. I'm not sure what the reference of those are specifically, but I'm actually wondering, since we burned through the majority of the Pantheon, all but 4 in Hades 1, we didn't have Apollo, we didn't have Hera, we didn't have Hestia, and we didn't have Hephaestus. So those 4 weren't there. But I'm wondering if Supergiant Games is going to go a different route than Melinoë getting her power from the gods in a form of boon there, and rather getting it from runes and magic from the witchcraft world.
Not good enough. We can but learn. And the greatest teacher is out there. Now go. Death to Cronus.
All right, death to Cronus. And here we have the reference of the bad guy of Hades 2. Also, while we're paused here, we can see all the moon motif on both of the characters here. Additionally, you can see the red and green eyes of Melinoë, signifying her relationship to Zagreus. So making sure that that is perfectly clear. But let's keep this rolling and see what else we got.
Death to Cronus.
All right, first gameplay. Oh, I paused it. I just missed it. So she starts off wielding the dagger and sickle, and then she switches quickly over to the staff that she's wielding now. All right. And so I think the cast is going to come in different forms. You can see there's the circle cast, then there's the one that goes horizontally across the screen. And the other thing I'll call out here is there seems to be more of a focus away from the martial aspects. Hades 1 was almost entirely martial weapons to a more magical base, which I'm really excited to see. I think there's a lot of potential there. Additionally, in the screen, I'll note in the top left of the screen, it looks like there's a small little altar there. We'll see that again later in the game, but I'm wondering if that's similar to the pools that you run into where you can buy things, but we'll have to find out. Additionally, I just noticed in this playthrough, in the top right, it looks like there's a portal that's being held that also has that Wheel of Hecate with the sigils around it. Let's let it keep rolling.
This is an opportunity for you.
Okay. I got to go back to that. Hold on. All right. Morose. So here is our first new god that we've been, confirmed and introduced. So Morose is the god of impending doom. This is the guy that would show up to orchestrate bad shit happening to humans. So he would be there if, your whole family died. He would be the one that created that scenario. So not the nicest guy in the world.
For you to make a better future for us all. At least I can.
All right. And the next god on our list, we've got Apollo. So remember those 4 that I was talking about that weren't covered in Hades 1? Well, here's 1 down. So we'll see if the other 3 show up by chance. But I've got a theory on that, which I'll get to at the end here. But first off, let's look at his line that he says. Least I can do is to light your way down. So this is a huge implication here. So this is implying that we're not going up through, the levels. We're going down. So I think that's going to tie into the story arc, and I've got some ideas where we're heading.
Do is light your way down.
All right, next let's talk about these abilities that we have up here. So if they are boons, I'm not sure what we're going to call them, don't seem to be specific attack oriented like most of the rest of the boons associated with the greater pantheon gods were. And instead, these ones seem to be more generalized. So Nova Strike, your attacks deal more damage in larger areas. So that's changing or being an adjective or adjunct to existing effects that you have. Blinding Sprint. So this is affecting movement. So again, not really an attack type of thing. But this also brings in 2 new mechanics. So we've got Sprint, which is going to be different than Dash, I think. Because I did notice in the play that Melinoë is still dashing. So Sprint might be a different movement mechanic. And then Daze, which is probably just another new status effect that we'll have that'll, they'll stack together just like it did in Hades 1. And then the last one has the most interesting bits to it. Clarifying Light while standing in your casts gradually restore magic. So casts, I assume, again, are those runes and circles on the ground or the horizontal vertical ones that we're going outward. They gradually restore magic. So this introduces the idea of a resource that you can use in game. I'm wondering if it's going to be something similar like Diablo, where you've got a primary attack that's a resource builder. And then you've got like a big attack that's your resource spender. And so you have kind of a give-take mechanic. And I'd love to see something like that because it really changes how gameplay works out. But we'll have to find out.
About ready to give it.
All right. And here we go. We've got another new god / goddess to the mix. We've got Nemesis. So Nemesis is the god of retribution. So specifically retribution of people who've got undeserved good fortune. That's kind of the idea. People who are guilty of hubris and things like that. So she shows up and smacks them around. Interesting aside on this one, her Roman counterpart is NVIDIA. If that sounds familiar, that's because that's where NVIDIA got their name from.
No, I was born for this.
All right. We seem to have a frog motif going on here, and there's a reason for that, I think. So the name Hecate also has ties to Egyptian. The sourcing is not entirely clear, but there's a frog-headed goddess of fertility and childbirth over in the Egyptian side of the world, and that name is Hecate. And so wondering if there's some connections that occurred there.
You trifle with powers far beyond your comprehension, witch.
Okay.
All right, this room, let's take it in for a quick second. So I think this is going to be where we live. So in between runs, this is where you'll come back to each time you die. In the bottom right, it looks like you've got kind of a bookshelf area. I'm wondering if that's going to be the replacement for the Mirror of Darkness that you have in Hades 1. And you can kind of look around the room and imagine various places in here that could be used for different functions along those lines.
If I call you witch like that?
That's got to be the voice actress who can do so.
Vengeance for your family.
I was also thinking if we're going down into the underworld in this situation, I'm wondering if these are the rivers here that are leading up to the entrance to the underworld. Because you can see there's fish flying at Melinoë, and there's this, I don't know what that critter is. Some weird amalgamation of things all smooshed together.
Awaits you.
He is no mere titan. He is time itself, and time cannot be stopped.
Wait for me, Father. I'll be this.
Woo! All right, let's unpack some of that. So Cronus is the bad guy here. So who is Cronus? Well, it's Melinoë's grandfather. So Cronus was a titan who was married to Rhea, and he was the father of Demeter, Hera, Hestes, Poseidon, and Zeus. All right. So, but all these children had a weird upbringing, because before they were born, there was a prophecy that his children, Cronus's children, would rise up and overthrow him, and therefore he ate all of his children. It seems like a perfectly logical thing most sane person would do. So he was eating all his children, and as he got to Zeus, Rhea was like, nah, I'm kind of done with this. So she swaddles up a rock and feeds it to him and said, hey, here's your baby Zeus. And he eats it and doesn't think anything of it. And then she secrets Zeus away to the island of Crete, and he grows up there. And just as the prophecy dictated, he comes back and he manages to, I don't know, give some type of concoction or potion that forces Cronus to throw up all the children. So he vomits out all the kids, and then they become the Olympians, and the Olympians all rise up and smack the Titans down and drive them into none other than Tartarus, where they are basically left or captured or enslaved or whatever. They're stuck in Tartarus. So that's what happens to the Titans. So that's the backdrop for Cronus. So now that we're going back down, we see that Hades is chained up. My assumption is that somehow Cronus has escaped, and now he's looking for vengeance. So I'm wondering if it's just Hades that's locked up, because it seems like he would have a huge beef with Zeus, for example. So I'm curious if we lose access to all the gods and the boons that we had in Hades 1, which I think would be fantastic. I'd love to see that. Maybe we have mini rescue missions that we go through. But overall, what I've seen in this, in terms of new mechanics and stuff, so we've got new status effects. It looks like we've got new movements. We saw that in the sprint function. We've got new attacks and multiple new weapons. We at least saw the staff, and then we saw the dagger and the sickle as two different weapon options. I'm sure there's going to be more than that. So, the open questions that I have are, how are they going to incorporate the gods of the past? Just like I said, I'm curious to see how that plays out. I also have to say, after watching this, I can't help but think that they're thinking of a third Hades already. Because when I think about this, the opportunity to recover the gods and then have some other type of adventure as a third game where you have both Zagreus and Melinoë working together would be phenomenal. But let me know what you saw when you watched the trailer. Let me know your stuff down in the comments below. Please engage. I hope you've enjoyed this. This isn't my normal thing to cover, but Hades is one of my favorite games of all times. and I felt like I just couldn't leave this one on the table and not talk about it. When this does come out, I will be covering it for sure on my channel. So I hope you stay with me. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. That goes out. Hey, folks, if you're new to the channel, welcome in. I hope you enjoyed my analysis of the new trailer for Hades 2. I cannot wait to cover this game, and for my 7 Days to Die community, I hope you stay with me and be patient as I try some different games just to keep things fresh for myself and to be able to give more back to the community around the games that I love. So that's all I got today. I hope you all have a great one. Take care. Echoes out.